You've been here before, lying awake at night, eyes fixed on the ceiling, replaying every mistake, every awkward conversation, every what-if scenario your mind can invent. You think you're solving something, but the more you think, the deeper you sink. Overthinking is a thief. It steals your peace, your time, your focus. And the cruelest part, it convinces you it's helping. But what if I told you that 2,000 years ago, a group of philosophers had already mastered the art of silencing this mental storm? They called it Stoicism. And their wisdom may be the antidote you've been looking for. Overthinking feels modern, but it's ancient. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, wrote about sleepless nights spent wrestling with his thoughts. Epictetus warned about the tyranny of impressions, those rapid-fire mental images and fears that chain us to worry. Seneca described the restless mind as a prisoner pacing inside its cell. These men lived without social media, without the 24-hour news cycle, without the constant digital noise. Yet they still battled overthinking, which means the problem isn't the modern world. It's the human mind itself. At its core, overthinking is the inability to separate what you can control from what you cannot. The Stoics saw this distinction as the foundation of peace. Some things are up to us, Epictetus said, and some are not. Everything else follows from this. If it's under your control, your choices, your actions, your character, then act with intention. If it's outside your control, the past, the future, the opinions of others, then you must let it go, or it will own you. Overthinking thrives on what you cannot control. It chews on uncertainties, feeds on hypotheticals, and starves you of clarity. Think about your spiral of thoughts. How often are you worrying about something that hasn't happened, or something that already has? The Stoics knew that the present moment is the only territory we truly possess. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Confine yourself to the present," not because the past and future are unimportant, but because they are illusions when it comes to action. You cannot change what has been, and you cannot live in what has not yet come. But overthinking makes you try, and in doing so, you suffer twice, once in reality, and once in your imagination. Here's the paradox. Overthinking feels like control. You believe that by analyzing every possibility, you're preparing yourself. But Stoicism shows that this is false security. Life is unpredictable. You cannot outthink chaos. You can only meet it with strength when it arrives. That's why the Stoics trained their minds daily, not to predict every turn, but to remain unshaken no matter where the road bends. Seneca offered a practice for this. Each night, he would review the day, not to ruminate, but to learn. He would ask, "What did I do well? What could I have done better? What will I choose differently tomorrow?" This is disciplined reflection, not overthinking. The difference is subtle but life-changing. Reflection looks once, learns, and moves forward. Overthinking looks again and again until it's blind. Another Stoic strategy is the view from above. Imagine yourself high above the earth, looking down on your life from the perspective of the cosmos. That embarrassing moment, a speck in the ocean of time, that looming deadline, one wave in an endless sea. This shift shrinks your problems to their actual size. Overthinking magnifies them, the Stoic view reduces them, and with that reduction comes relief. The Stoics also practiced negative visualization, not to scare themselves, but to inoculate against fear. Picture the worst-case scenario. What if it happens? How would you respond? This mental rehearsal breaks the spell of uncertainty. You see that even in difficulty, you still have choices. And once you accept that you can endure the worst, the need to obsess over every detail begins to fade. But perhaps the most powerful Stoic lesson against overthinking is this: your thoughts are not commands. Epictetus reminded his students, it is not things themselves that disturb us, but our opinions about them. Overthinking is the mind mistaking its opinions for facts. Stoicism teaches you to hold thoughts lightly, to examine them before believing them. Is this thought true? Is it useful? Does it lead to virtuous action? If the answer is no, let it pass like clouds across the sky. Modern psychology now echoes what the Stoics knew. Cognitive behavioral therapy, one of the most effective treatments for anxiety, is rooted in Stoic principles. It teaches you to challenge distorted thoughts, to focus on the controllable, and to live in the present. The ancient wisdom has become modern science, a reminder that some truths never expire. Still, the challenge remains. Knowing the philosophy is one thing, living it is another. Overthinking is a habit, and habits are hard to break. The Stoics understood this. They didn't expect perfection. They expected practice. Every moment of worry is an opportunity to return to the present, to ask, is this under my control? Every moment of mental noise is a chance to step back, to take the view from above. Every flood of what-ifs is an invitation to imagine the worst, accept it, and let it go. In a way, overthinking is a refusal to trust life. The Stoics would call this a lack of faith in nature's order. They believed the universe was a living, rational whole, and that our role was to live in harmony with it. That harmony begins when we stop fighting reality with endless mental resistance. Overthinking is resistance. Stoicism is surrender, not in weakness, but in strength. It's saying, I will meet what comes, and I will not waste my energy wrestling with shadows. Of course, this is easier said than done. You may catch yourself slipping back into the spiral a dozen times a day. The Stoics would say, good. Every slip is a chance to practice. And practice transforms you. Over time, the space between thought and reaction grows. You stop answering every mental knock at the door. You let silence in. And in that silence, something remarkable happens. Peace begins to take root. When you practice this enough, something extraordinary happens. You begin to experience space between the impulse and the reaction. Instead of your mind dragging you through endless what-ifs, you start to notice the thought arise, almost like a cloud drifting into your awareness. And in that moment, you realize you have a choice. This is the essence of Stoic mastery over overthinking, not the elimination of thought, but the refusal to be dominated by it. You become the observer, the calm presence behind the noise, the captain of your ship rather than a passenger tossed around by the waves. Marcus Aurelius wrote, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. This is not just poetic wisdom. It's a reminder that your overthinking thrives on believing the external world has the power to control you. The truth is, your suffering comes not from what is happening, but from how you interpret and dwell on it. The Stoics teach that events are neutral. Your mind assigns them meaning. When you stop assigning catastrophic meanings to the unknown, your thoughts lose their grip on you. Another powerful Stoic insight is the practice of memento mori, remembering that you will die. At first, this sounds morbid, but it is profoundly liberating. When you reflect on the brevity of life, most of the things you overthink shrink into insignificance. Will the opinion of that coworker matter in a year? Will the mistake you made last week even be remembered in 10 years? Life is too short to surrender it to mental loops that lead nowhere. This perspective clears away the clutter and forces you to focus on what truly matters. There's also the discipline of voluntary discomfort, intentionally stepping into slightly uncomfortable situations so you can prove to yourself that you can survive them. Seneca would sleep on a hard floor for a few nights or wear simple clothing to remind himself that he could endure discomfort. Why? Much of overthinking is rooted in fear of what might happen if things go wrong. When you practice discomfort, you dissolve the illusion that you need everything to go perfectly to be okay. You train your mind to be steady, even when life isn't. One of the most effective tools to dismantle overthinking is to create a decision time limit. The Stoics valued swift, decisive action grounded in reason. Epictetus taught that hesitation and delay feed anxiety. If you're stuck in a cycle of what-ifs, set a timer, 5 minutes, an hour a day, depending on the decision's magnitude. And when the time is up, decide. Once you've acted, refuse to revisit the decision unless new, critical information emerges. This stops the mind from reopening closed doors. Another subtle but transformative shift is to reframe problems as opportunities for virtue. Overthinking often casts you as the victim, trapped, powerless, at the mercy of uncertainty. But the Stoic sees each challenge as a test, an opportunity to exercise courage, patience, temperance, or wisdom. Instead of "why is this happening to me?" ask, "what virtue can I practice right now?" This instantly shifts the mental landscape from paralysis to purpose. Overthinking thrives in isolation. The Stoics emphasized the importance of good company, people who live with clarity, who do not indulge in petty drama or constant complaining. Your mental state is contagious. Surround yourself with calm, reasoned individuals, and you'll find your thoughts begin to reflect that steadiness. Conversations with wise friends can dissolve endless rumination faster than hours alone with your thoughts. A daily reflection practice can also safeguard you from the spiral. The Stoics would review their day each evening, examining their actions, thoughts, and emotions not with judgment, but with curiosity. Ask yourself, did I overthink something today? What triggered it? How could I respond differently next time? Over time, this reflection becomes a mirror that shows you the patterns you didn't even know were there. And awareness is the first step to freedom. In moments of acute overthinking, use the view from above meditation. Imagine rising above your life, first your home, then your city, then your country, until you're looking down at the earth from space. See your problem in the vastness of the planet. Notice how small it is compared to the billions of lives unfolding. This isn't to dismiss your struggles, but to place them in perspective. From that vantage point, the mind finds peace. Gratitude, too, is a surprisingly potent antidote. It's nearly impossible to be grateful and overthink at the same time, because gratitude roots you in the present. Each morning, name 3 things you're thankful for, not vague ideas, but specific details. The warmth of your coffee cup, the quiet of early morning, the smile of someone you love. The Stoics cherished the gift of simply being alive. And in appreciating what you already have, you loosen the mind's grip on what it fears losing. Overcoming overthinking with Stoicism is not about becoming emotionless or unfeeling. It's about building an inner fortress of reason and perspective so that your emotions serve you rather than sabotage you. You'll still feel fear, doubt, and uncertainty, but they will no longer drive your decisions or steal your peace. You will begin to trust yourself, to know that whatever comes, you will meet it with composure. And perhaps most importantly, you'll reclaim your time. Every minute spent lost in spirals of what if is a minute not lived. The Stoics understood that time is the one resource you can never get back, and to waste it on imagined futures is the greatest tragedy. By mastering your thoughts, you master your life. So, let me ask you, which Stoic principle resonated with you most today? Was it the discipline of voluntary discomfort, the power of memento mori, or the art of reframing challenges? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear how you plan to apply these ancient lessons in your modern life. Remember, you have more control than you think. You are not your thoughts, and you are not the prisoner of your mind. If you found value in this message, give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and let's continue this journey toward mental clarity, inner strength, and the freedom that comes when you stop overthinking and start living.